I used to believe there were two people in this world who would never betray me. My wife, Emily, and my best friend, Ryan. I was wrong about both of them. For 12 years, I built my life around trust. I worked long hours, saved every dollar I could, bought the house Emily said she dreamed about, supported her small business when it was failing, and stood beside Ryan when his own life fell apart. Ryan was not just a friend to me. He was family. When his marriage ended, I let him stay in our guest room for 3 months. When he lost his job, I introduced him to people who could help. When he needed money, I never made him beg for it. That was the kind of man I thought I was. Loyal. Reliable. Maybe too trusting. Emily always told me that was my weakness. You believe people are better than they are, she used to say, smiling like she loved that part of me. Now I realize she wasn't admiring it. She was studying it. The first sign came on a Friday night. I came home earlier than usual because a meeting got canceled. I remember feeling good that evening. I had stopped at a flower shop and bought Emily white roses, her favorite. I even picked up dinner from that Italian place she loved but always said was too expensive. The house was quiet when I pulled into the driveway. Too quiet. Usually, Emily had music playing. Soft jazz, old pop songs, something in the background. But that night, the windows were dark except for the light upstairs. I unlocked the front door and stepped inside. I called out. No answer. I placed the food on the kitchen island and noticed 2 wine glasses in the sink. That was strange. Emily didn't drink wine alone. Then I saw Ryan's jacket hanging over one of the dining chairs. At first, my mind refused to understand what my eyes were showing me. Ryan came over all the time. That was normal. He was my best friend. Maybe he stopped by to talk. Maybe Emily forgot to tell me. I stood there with the roses in my hand, staring at that jacket like it had turned into a warning sign. Then I heard laughter upstairs. Not loud. Not innocent. The kind of laughter that makes your stomach tighten before your brain has proof. I walked slowly toward the stairs. Every step felt heavier than the last. Halfway up, I heard Emily whisper something. Then Ryan laughed again. My hand tightened around the roses until one of the thorns cut into my palm. I reached the bedroom door. It wasn't fully closed. There was a small gap. And through that gap, I saw enough to change my life forever. I did not scream. I did not kick the door open. I did not attack anyone. I just stood there. Silent. Frozen. Listening to my own heart beat like it was trying to break out of my chest. Emily was with Ryan. My wife. With a man I had called my brother. For a few seconds I couldn't breathe. It felt like the whole house had tilted sideways. The pictures on the hallway wall, our wedding photo, the vacation photos, the smiling faces, everything suddenly looked fake. I backed away from the door without making a sound. Then I walked downstairs. The roses were still in my hand. The dinner was still warm on the counter. My marriage was already dead. I sat in the kitchen for almost 10 minutes, staring at those 2 wine glasses. And during those 10 minutes, something inside me changed. The man who walked into that house wanted to surprise his wife. The man who walked out of it wanted the truth. Not revenge yet. Not anger yet. Just truth. Because I knew one thing clearly. If I confronted them right then, they would cry, lie, beg, blame alcohol, blame loneliness, blame confusion. They would turn one dirty moment into a mistake. And I would be expected to decide everything while bleeding inside. So I did something they never expected. I left. Quietly. I took the roses, threw them into a trash can at a gas station 2 miles away, and checked into a hotel under my own name. That night, Emily called me 17 times. Ryan called me 6. I didn't answer either of them. By midnight, Emily sent a message. Where are you? I'm worried. I stared at it for a long time. Then I typed back one sentence. Don't worry. I know. She didn't reply for 8 minutes. Then my phone exploded. Calls. Texts. Voice messages. Emily, please come home. Emily, it's not what you think. Emily, we need to talk. Ryan, brother, let me explain. Brother. That word almost made me laugh. Almost. But I didn't laugh. I turned my phone face down on the hotel nightstand and looked out the window at the city lights. That was the first night I understood something important. Betrayal doesn't always make you loud. Sometimes it makes you calm. Dangerously calm. And by morning I had already decided. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to fight for someone who had already chosen to humiliate me in my own home. I was going to let them believe they still had control. And then I was going to take everything back. The next morning, I woke up before sunrise. For a moment, I forgot where I was. The hotel room was cold, quiet, and unfamiliar. The curtains were half open and pale gray light slipped through the window. My suit jacket was hanging over a chair. My shoes were still by the door. Then everything came back. Emily. Ryan. The bedroom door. The laughter. I sat up slowly and checked my phone. 43 missed calls. 26 messages. Most of them were from Emily. Some were from Ryan. A few were from Emily's sister, asking if everything was okay. I didn't answer anyone. Not yet. I needed my mind clear. The old version of me would have rushed home. He would have demanded answers, shouted until his voice broke, maybe even cried in front of them. But that man had died somewhere between the stairs and the kitchen. I opened my laptop and did the first smart thing I had done since discovering the betrayal. I checked our finances. For years, Emily never cared about numbers. She liked the lifestyle, the vacations, the house, the nice restaurants, the charity events, but she hated dealing with bills, taxes, contracts, accounts. So I handled everything. That had always annoyed me. Now it became my advantage. I logged into our joint account. At first, nothing seemed strange. Mortgage payments, utilities, groceries, shopping. Then I noticed small transfers. Not huge amounts. $300 here. $500 there. $1,000 once. All sent to a business account connected to Ryan. My chest tightened. I clicked deeper. There were more. Over the last 8 months, Emily had quietly moved nearly $18,000 into Ryan's struggling consulting company. Our money. My money. I leaned back in the chair and stared at the screen. The affair was bad enough. But this was different. This was not weakness. This was planning. This was betrayal with receipts. I downloaded every statement, every transfer record, every date. Then I backed everything up twice. One folder on my laptop. One folder in cloud storage Emily didn't know existed. After that, I checked the security camera system. Ryan had helped me install those cameras 2 years earlier. The irony almost made me smile. There were no cameras in private rooms, of course. I was angry, not insane. But we had cameras outside the front door, driveway, garage, and living room entrance. And Ryan had forgotten one thing. Every time he entered my house, the cameras recorded him. I watched weeks of footage. Ryan arriving when I was at work. Ryan leaving late. Emily walking him to the door. Emily hugging him too long. Ryan touching her hand like it belonged to him. My jaw clenched, but I kept watching. By noon I had enough. Not enough to heal. Enough to stop doubting myself. That was the strange thing about betrayal. Even when you see it with your own eyes, some part of you still searches for another explanation. Maybe I misunderstood. Maybe it wasn't what it looked like. Maybe there was some impossible excuse that could make the pain less real. But evidence kills denial. And I had evidence. At 12:17 p.m., Emily sent another message. Please, just tell me where you are. I'm scared. I replied. You should be. She called immediately. This time I answered. For 3 seconds neither of us spoke. Then she broke. Daniel, she whispered. Please come home. Her voice sounded small. Fragile. Practiced. I knew that voice. She used it when she wanted forgiveness before admitting guilt. I looked at the financial records open on my laptop. Is Ryan there? I asked. Silence. That silence told me everything. No, she said too quickly. Don't lie to me again. I heard her breathing change. Then, in the background, I heard a door close. Ryan was there. In my house. After everything. Something cold moved through me. Not rage. Not yet. Something worse. Clarity. Emily started crying. It was a mistake, she said. I closed my eyes. There it was. The word I had expected. Mistake. People always call betrayal a mistake when they get caught. A mistake is forgetting an anniversary. A mistake is burning dinner. A mistake is taking the wrong exit on the highway. What they did was a choice. Repeated. Hidden. Protected. Paid for with money from our marriage. How long? I asked. Daniel, please don't do this over the phone. How long? She sobbed harder. I don't know. That was another lie. So I gave her help. 8 months. The crying stopped. I heard nothing for a moment except static on the line. Then she whispered, How do you know that? I smiled for the first time since it happened. But there was nothing happy in it. Because unlike you, I pay attention. She started talking fast after that. She said she felt lonely. She said I worked too much. She said Ryan understood her. She said it wasn't supposed to happen. She said she still loved me. She said she didn't want to lose our life. Our life. Not me. Our life. The house. The money. The reputation. The comfort. I let her talk until she ran out of excuses. Then I said, "Put Ryan on the phone." "No. Put him on. He's not here." "Emily." Another silence. Then I heard muffled voices. A minute later Ryan's voice came through. "Daniel." He sounded nervous, but he was trying to sound calm. Like a man negotiating a business problem. Not like a man who had destroyed his best friend. I said nothing. He cleared his throat. "Listen, brother. Don't call me that." He stopped. "I know you're angry." "No," I said quietly. "You don't." He sighed, almost annoyed. And that small sound told me exactly who he really was. Not guilty. Not broken. Just uncomfortable because consequences had arrived. "It got complicated," he said. I looked at the transfer records again. "Did it get complicated before or after my wife started sending you money?" He said nothing. Emily gasped in the background. So she hadn't told him I knew that part. Good. That meant they were already divided. Ryan finally said, "That was for the business." She believed in me. She used joint funds without telling me. She wanted to help. "No," I said. "She wanted to hide." His voice sharpened. "Look, man, I know this is bad, but don't make it uglier than it has to be." That was the moment my anger finally arrived. Not loud. Not explosive. Just a slow fire behind my ribs. "You came into my house," I said. "You drank my wine. You smiled in my face. You let me help you while you were sleeping with my wife. And now you're giving me advice on how ugly this should get." He didn't answer. Smart choice. I stood up and looked at my reflection in the hotel window. I barely recognized myself. But I liked the man looking back more than the fool I had been yesterday. "I'm coming home tomorrow," I said. Emily cried, "Thank God." "No," I said. "Not for that." Her crying stopped again. "I'm coming home to collect my documents, my personal belongings, and anything connected to my business. You both need to be gone when I arrive. Daniel, please?" "If Ryan is there," I continued, "I will call the police and have him removed." Ryan cursed under his breath. I almost laughed. Then I said the line that changed everything. "And Emily?" "Yes," she whispered. "Do not touch the accounts." She went silent. I hung up. For the rest of the day I worked like a machine. I called my attorney. I called my accountant. I changed passwords. I froze certain cards. I moved my direct deposit. I documented every suspicious transfer. By evening, my attorney, a woman named Margaret Vale, had already reviewed the first batch of evidence. She called me at 7:40 p.m. Her voice was calm, professional, and sharp. "Daniel," she said, "I'm going to be very clear. Do not confront them emotionally. Do not threaten them. Do not destroy anything. You have leverage because you stayed calm." I looked at the city lights again. "What happens now?" "Now," Margaret said, "we protect you before they realize how exposed they are." That sentence stayed with me. Before they realize how exposed they are. Because Emily and Ryan still thought this was about heartbreak. They had no idea it was about to become survival. That I returned home the next morning at 10 o'clock. Not alone. Margaret had told me to bring a witness, so I asked my older brother Mark to come with me. Mark didn't say much on the drive over. He had always been the quiet type, the kind of man who listened more than he spoke. But when I told him what happened, I saw something in his face I had rarely seen before. Disappointment. Not in me. For me. When we pulled into the driveway, Emily's car was there. Ryan's wasn't. At least they had listened to one instruction. I stepped out of the car and looked at the house. The house I had worked for. The house Emily had decorated room by room, always saying it felt like our forever home. Now it looked like a beautiful lie with windows. Mark stood beside me. "You ready?" he asked. "No," I said. "But I'm done being unready." We walked to the front door. Before I could unlock it, Emily opened it. She looked terrible. Her hair was tied back carelessly. Her eyes were red. She wore one of my old gray shirts, the same one she used to steal on Sunday mornings when we still felt like a real marriage. That almost got to me. Almost. "Daniel," she whispered. I held up one hand. "I'm here for my documents and belongings. Mark is here as a witness. This doesn't need to become dramatic." Her eyes moved to my brother. "Mark, please. You know me. Tell him we can talk." Mark looked at her for 2 seconds. Then he said, "You should step aside." Emily's face collapsed. But she stepped back. The moment I entered the house, I smelled her perfume, the coffee she always made, the lemon cleaner she used on the counters. Everything was familiar. That made it worse, because the house still looked like home. Only now I knew what had happened inside it. I walked straight to my office. Emily followed behind me, crying softly. "I ended it," she said. I opened a filing cabinet. I didn't ask. I told Ryan it was over. I pulled out business documents, property records, tax folders, insurance policies. "I don't care." "That's not true," she said. "You care. I know you care." I stopped and turned around. She flinched like she expected me to shout. But my voice stayed calm. "You don't know what I care about anymore." Her lips trembled. "That's not fair." I stared at her. Fair. That word sounded strange coming from her mouth. 8 months, I said. In my house. With my closest friend. Using our money to help him. And now you want fair. She looked down. I was confused. "No, Emily. You were comfortable." That hit her harder than anger would have. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. I kept packing. One folder. Then another. Then another. I took the hard drive from my desk drawer, my backup laptop, my passport, my personal records, and the small box where I kept my father's watch. When I picked up that watch, my hands finally shook. My father had given it to me a month before he died. He told me a man's real character shows when life gives him a reason to become cruel. I used to think I understood that. Now I was learning. Emily saw the watch and started crying harder. "Your dad loved me," she whispered. I slowly closed the box. "Yes," I said. "He was wrong too." She covered her mouth. Mark looked away. For the first time, I saw something like real pain in Emily's face. Not fear of losing the house. Not fear of divorce. Pain. But I didn't let myself soften. Because pain after getting caught is not the same as remorse. I carried the first box outside. When I came back in, Emily was standing near the kitchen island. The same place where I had left the Italian food and roses 2 nights earlier. She looked at that spot like she remembered too. "I never meant to hurt you," she said. I gave a tired laugh. It was the first sound I made that didn't feel controlled. "You keep saying things that make it worse." "It's true." "No. It means you enjoyed what you were doing and hoped I would never find out." My pain was acceptable as long as I stayed ignorant. She started shaking her head. "No, Daniel, please. I was lonely." There it was again. Lonely. A word people use when they want betrayal to sound like sadness instead of selfishness. I stepped closer. "You could have talked to me. You could have asked for counseling. You could have told me you were unhappy. You could have left." She whispered, "I know. But you didn't." Her voice broke. "I know. You chose the one person who would hurt me most." That finally silenced her. The truth had nowhere to hide. I finished packing the second box. Then I went upstairs. I had avoided the bedroom until that moment. Standing outside the door again made my stomach twist. For a second I was back there. The gap. The laughter. The sound of 2 people destroying years of trust without knowing I was watching. I pushed the door open. The room had been cleaned. Of course it had. The bed was made perfectly. The sheets had been changed. The wine glasses were gone. The air smelled like fresh laundry. Like she could wash away what happened. I opened my closet and packed my clothes. Emily stood in the doorway but didn't come in. Smart. "I changed everything," she said quietly. I didn't answer. "I couldn't sleep in here after you left." I kept folding shirts. I threw the sheets away. I stopped. Then I looked at her. "Do you want credit for that?" She looked ashamed. "No." Then stopped talking. She nodded and cried silently. When I finished, I carried the bags downstairs. Mark helped me load everything into the car. Then I went back inside one last time. Emily stood in the living room, small and broken looking. "Where are you staying?" she asked. "That's not your concern. Are you filing for divorce?" "Yes." Her face crumpled. "No. Please. Please don't say that like it's already decided. It was decided when you brought him into our bed." She hugged herself. "What can I do?" I looked around the room. The wedding photo still sat on the fireplace mantel. I walked over, picked it up, and stared at it. There we were. Younger. Smiling. Ignorant. Emily in white. Me looking like the luckiest man alive. I turned the frame around, opened the back, and removed the photo. Emily watched me, confused. I folded the picture once. Then again. Then I placed it on the coffee table. "You can sign the papers when they come." She started sobbing. I walked to the door. But before I left, my phone buzzed. A message from Ryan. I looked at the screen. Can we meet? Just us. You and me. Man to man. I stared at those words. Man to man. After everything, he still thought he deserved that kind of conversation. Emily saw his name on my screen. What does he want? She asked nervously. I didn't answer her. Instead, I typed back. Tonight. 7 p.m. Westbridge Hotel Bar. Mark frowned when he saw me send it. Daniel, he said quietly, that's a bad idea. No, I said. It's the first good one I've had. Emily stepped forward. Please don't meet him. He'll only make this worse. I looked at her. That's exactly what I'm counting on. Then I left. That night, I arrived at the Westbridge Hotel at 6:45. I chose a table in the corner, away from the music, but close enough to the security cameras. Margaret knew I was there. Mark knew I was there. And my phone was recording before Ryan even walked in. He arrived at 7:03 wearing a navy jacket, expensive watch, and the nervous smile of a man who believed charm could still save him. He sat across from me. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then he leaned forward and said, I know you hate me. I looked at him calmly. Hate is too generous. He swallowed. Daniel, I messed up. No, I said. You calculated badly. His expression changed. Just for half a second. But I saw it. The mask slipped. Then he sighed. Look, Emily and I never wanted it to happen. I almost admired the sentence. So clean. So empty. You mean 8 months happened by accident? He rubbed his face. It started emotionally. Of course it did. She felt neglected. I smiled. There it was. The partnership. Even now, he was using her excuse like they had rehearsed it. Ryan, I said, I didn't come here for apologies. He blinked. Then why did you come? I leaned back. To let you talk. That made him uncomfortable. Good. People like Ryan need resistance. When you stay quiet, they start filling the silence with truth by mistake. He looked around the bar, then lowered his voice. Okay, fine. You want honesty? Emily is scared. She thinks you're going to ruin her. I'm not ruining anyone. Come on, man. Don't call me that. He exhaled sharply. You're going after the money, aren't you? I said nothing. He leaned closer. Listen. Those transfers were business support. That's all.